to make sure to bring new melodies and share sort of what's the cutting edge of worship today. And we also recognize that sometimes people just want the melodies that they know and love. And we talked about this idea that it's like kind of like comfort food, especially when it's been a long week and we're all stuck at home. And so I thought that tonight I'd do some melodies that are kind of like comfort food. And I will just say that sometimes what is comforting and recognizable to one person is totally new and different and unrecognizable to another person, regardless of when it was written. So got a few different types of melodies. I hope that you will join with me in singing. If it's something you know, if it's a melody you know, please join with me. And if it's not, then hopefully you'll learn and enjoy something new. So we're going to start with just a quick Shabbat Shalom from Craig Talman. And if you know this, please join with me. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Where has this week vanished? Is it lost forever? Will I ever recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished. Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom? On this day, let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day, let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat, abide. Help me to withdraw for a while from the flight of time. Contain the retreat of the hours and days from the grasp of frantic life. Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world this day. On this day, Shabbat, abide. We're going to sing L'Chado D from our Kabbalat Shabbat service. I was thinking this week of, it's connected to the reading I just did, I was thinking about something I learned from Art Green, who is a well-known sort of neo-Hasidic teacher. And he writes about how, so there's this idea that on Shabbat we get an extra soul. It's this like Kabbalistic spiritual gift. And the soul comes down during L'Chado D. We draw out our extra soul, our Shabbos soul. And so Art Green writes about how he doesn't believe in the idea that we have this like extra soul that comes from heaven to us, but that it's really about the most vulnerable and intimate parts of ourselves that are inside of us all the time. And during the week, we might sort of work to protect it or hide it. If we're, depending on our life circumstance, if we're worried about getting trampled on, the busyness of life, if we're worried about just focusing on getting through things. And our talks about how on Shabbat, during L'chad Odi, we say it's to ourselves, basically. It's okay, you can come out now. For one day, for 25 hours, we promise to be good to ourselves, to take care of ourselves and nurture ourselves, to not get overwhelmed by the issues of the world, and to just create a safe space to be ourselves on Shabbat. So I like that idea. I was thinking about it this week, and we'll join together in L'chad Odi. L'chad Odi, L'chad Kala, L'chad Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekava, Nekava, L'chad Odi, L'chad Kala, L'chad Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekava, Nekava. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom u'mevorach. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom u'mevorach. L'chad Odi, L'chad Kala, L'chad Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekava, Nekava. We will continue with Shalom Aleichem. Please join with me. Here we go. Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Shalom, Aleichem Melech, Aleichem HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Aleichem Shalom, Aleichem Shalom. Kadosh Baruch HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We formally welcome in Shabbat now with our blessing over the candles, over our grape juice or wine, and over our challah. As these candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. And I'm trying not to light my guitar on fire. I've got my candles here. If you have candles at your home, I invite you to light them along with me here. Candles. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של Shabbat. And if you've got a Kiddush cup, I have a Dixie cup. Don't judge. Go with what we have. We'll join together in Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodesh v'ahava uvratzon kimkilanu zikaron l'maaseh bereshit ki hu yom tehillah l'mikra'e kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'chata v'tadu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodecha v'ahava v'ratzon kivotanu baruch atah Adonai mekadosh Shabbat. And we'll say our Hamotzi together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lecha min haaretz v'te'avam. Very excited to have this challah. So Rabbi Sydney's been talking about her Shabbat angel who's been delivering things. So I also have a Shabbat angel who happens to be related, closely related to Rabbi Sydney's Shabbat angel. And I got a text today that she's making me, not something for Shabbat, but a Star Wars mask, face mask. So I'm very excited about that. Thank you, Carrie. And I know she helped many of you make delicious looking chocolate challah last night. I think she'll be doing that again, hopefully soon. We are going to continue with Baruch Hu. If you are able, please rise. Baruch Hu Adonai HaMevorach And we'll join together in our Ma'ariv Aravim prayer. Roll into dark. Roll into dark, roll into light. Light becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv Aravim. Our next prayer is Ahavat Olam, which kind of sandwiches Shema with Ve'ahavta on the other side. Focusing on God's love for us, and that the Torah, the mitzvot in the Torah are meant to guide us, to help us lead moral lives, that all comes from God's love for us and desire to be a partner with us. Ahavat olam Torah u'mitzvot u'kiyum mishpatim otanu limadatan otanu limadatan Akein Adonai Eloheinu v'shokbinu Minu nasiach v'chakacha v'nismach b'divrei Toratacha u'v'mitzvotacha le'olam ki hem hayenu v'yorach yameinu Uvaham nege yamam v'layla nege yamam v'layla Ve'ahavat chatasim Nimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev amo Yisrael Ohev amo Yisrael, Ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael. Baruch Shem Kavod Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al varacha ve'shinatam levandecha ve'dibarta bam ve'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'derech u'shokbecha u'v'kamecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha ve'hayu letotafot bein einecha u'ktavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzotai v'hitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeitichem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiyot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Echad. So for me, I want to do, just join me on this, please. A little mashup. It is, in a way, a throwback. I didn't say where it was or when I was throwing back to. It's a mashup using some Bobby McFerrin lyrics, some Bob Marley lyrics. You probably know both of these. I love this version. So it does, granted, this version does not give full justice to the intensity of the redemption theology that's inherent in Mi Chamocha. This prayer comes from our Exodus text, and it is meant to be profound and powerful, and in a way, serious. The redemption narrative has guided a lot of our social justice work since then. And that is all important. And sometimes life just feels really heavy and like a lot. And I think that's especially the case right now. It's a lot to be a knowledgeable, informed person who pays attention to what's going on in the world, who cares about what's going on in the world, who tries to work to fight the injustices happening in the world. That is exhausting. And so part of Shabbat is, as we talked about already, stepping back from that and giving yourself space to take care of yourself, to rejuvenate yourself, and to celebrate the work that we have done. And so this version of Mi Chamocha allows us to be in that moment of rejoicing, relaxing, rejoicing in the accomplishments we've had this past week. So as we're singing this, maybe think about something you're really proud of that you did this week. If there's something that was worrying you, maybe now's a good time to let go of that, just for even for one day or even one night. Here we go. Here's a little song I wrote. I don't want to sing it no for no, don't worry. Be happy. Here's a little song I wrote. I want to sing it no for Be happy. Be happy. Don't worry. Be happy. Be happy. Don't worry, don't worry about a thing. Because every little thing is gonna be alright. Singing, don't worry about a thing. Because every little thing is gonna be alright. Our prayer, Hashkivenu, asks for God to help protect us, to spread the shelter of peace, Sukkot Shalom, over us, so that we can feel emboldened to do that work to make our world a better place. We'll join together in the melody that was written for our camp, URJ Camp Kalsman. Throwback to the early days of Kalsman. I remember when this was written by Andrew Paul, who grew up at our congregation, and Stephanie Crawley, who's a rabbi now. So let's join together, Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu Adonai Elohim Shalom Hamidenu Shomrenu I close my eyes, I find there to the sky. Another day gone to win my sleep, save my soul for your with each heartbeat. May my dreams be Hashkivenu Adonai Elohim Shalom Hamidenu Shomrenu Rosalinu Sukkot We're going to move to our Amidah now. We're going to do like we did last week. We'll start together with the opening line of the Amidah, and then we'll continue with some silent prayer. And then we'll come back together for our closing blessing or closing prayer from the Amidah, which is our prayer for peace. So if you are able, please rise as we join together in the Amidah. Throwback to the temple fundraiser a few months ago. If you were at that, I shared a video where I recorded this version of Sfatai Tiftach, mashing up with these beautiful, poignant words by Judith Silver. So if you remember it, if you know it, please join with me. And if not, hopefully you'll catch on and you can join us as you learn. Open my hands to give freely. Open my lips to good words, your words. Open my heart to love. Open my eyes to truth. Open my hands to give freely. Open my lips to good words, to pure words. Open my heart to love. Adonai, Tita, open my lips to good words, to pure words. Open my heart to love. Adonai, Tita, open my lips to good words, to pure words. Open my heart to love. Open my lips to good words, to pure words. Open my heart to love. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, sanctifies Shabbat. Oh, say shalom b'mamo. Who yaseh shalom aleinu. Ve'akol Yisrael. Ve'imru. Yaseh shalom. Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu. Ve'akol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom. Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu. Ve'akol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu. Ve'akol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom. Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu. Ve'akol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom. Yaseh shalom. Shalom, We turn our thoughts now to our loved ones who are in need of strength and healing as we join together in our prayer Misha Berach. This Shabbat, we're especially praying for the healing of Valentina Derakovsky, Azrael Early, Rohan Early, Tara Landry, Myra Masig, Patricia Shapiro, Orly Zerman, Amy Thornton, Deborah Newman Ziz Castongwe, Lindsay Robinson, Sammy McCubbins, Laura Armstrong, John Levy, Stacy Hetzel, Diane Turner, Michael Sirkenpool, Jacqueline Tara Smith, Kalina Suzawa, Deborah Rose, Sid Rubin, Ken Slotnick, Martin Kornblue, Liliana Oxsmith, Hans Weil, Sylvia Brown, Phil Grinker, Elizabeth Knopf, Bill Marmion, Jeffrey Finn, Benjamin Dominitz, Danielle Coffer, Bobby Morgenstern, Sheldon Morgenstern, Terry Callett, and Pam Shane Johnson. If you're praying for healing for somebody on this Shabbat, if you're joining us via Facebook, I'd invite you to share the name in the comments of the person you're thinking of. If you're joining us via live stream, you can say the name aloud in your home as we join together. May all who are in need of healing find a swift and full recovery. And let's say together, Amen. This Shabbat we have a double portion, which means we have an abundance of text of Torah to choose from. So we have two portions, Matot and Maseh, which are the penultimate and ultimate, I guess, last portions of the book of Numbers before I move on to Deuteronomy. I want to talk about two different episodes that take place in these portions. So the first one I want to talk about is from Parshat Maseh, and it's the story of the daughters of Zelophehad. So this is actually the Torah is coming back to the story, which we started. Episode 1 of the daughters of Zelophehad was in last week's Torah portion, Pentecost. So in this, it's a very short little piece where there's someone named Zelophehad who dies, and he only has 5 daughters, no sons. I shouldn't say only has 5 daughters. He has 5 daughters, no sons. And the law, as it was, stated that the sons are supposed to inherit a father's land and possessions. And so the daughters go to Moses and petition and say, this is unfair. Our father had no sons. We're his daughters. We're his children. We should be inheriting it. And Moses takes this to God, and God says, you're right. We need to change the law. So the law gets changed. So that's what happened in Pentecost. Now in our portion this week, we come back to the story, and there's like an extra add-on, which is that some other people from the tribe say, well, wait a minute. If they marry someone outside the tribe, then all those possessions will go to the other tribes and won't stay within our tribe. And so Moses takes this to God, and God says, they're right too. So we're going to amend the law. The new law is that the daughters, if there are no sons, then daughters should inherit, and but they have to marry within the tribe. So the reason I wanted to bring that story up is not to get into gender politics or anything like that, or it's because I love what this story represents. It represents the idea that our laws, other than the Big Ten, are not set in stone. The Torah is meant to be a living, breathing document that is both progressive and progresses. It is in the Torah itself. As we're reading through the Torah, the narrative, the writers of the Torah share, this was the law, and now we're changing it because we've realized that that's what the law was originally isn't right. And perhaps it took Zelophehad's daughters, perhaps the sense of what's right in that time changed, so that when they got to this moment, the end of Numbers, it didn't feel right anymore. And so the Torah, we see evidence of the Torah changing as we're reading it, which is, I think, so beautiful. There's this idea that we're supposed to put a fence around the Torah, protecting the Torah. And so many of our laws are rabbinic laws that come from this idea that we have to like keep things as they are and hold true to the original Torah, and we can't change things. But the Torah itself progresses. So we'll come back to this, but I think it's a really important idea. Sometimes, well, a lot of times Reform Judaism is looked down upon and seen, it's sort of like people describe it as like Orthodox is the most observant and Reform Judaism is the least observant. And to me, that's not what Reform Judaism is. It's not about being the least observant or just changing things or rejecting things because we want to. It's about progressing and being progressive. Okay, so then there's this other story in Parshat Matot. And it is not a pretty story. It's a story of war. It's a story of bloody, merciless fighting. It's not one of the ones we traditionally teach in religious school to our kids. And I'm not going to go into the details of the story itself, but I think, again, more about what it represents. This is a tough part of the Torah. Last week's Torah portion, Pinchas presents a challenge. The war that we read about in this portion is kind of like, it comes about because of what happens in Parshat Pinchas. And to me, what's important about this is that the Torah, I don't think, is meant to go down easy. So while I just said that I love that the Torah, I think we're supposed to like be progressive and it is meant to evolve. I also don't think it's meant to just be like flowers and whatever, like whatever seems good, and just like reading through the Torah and being like, oh, I like that. Oh, I don't like that. Let's just leave that out. We are meant to take the Torah in its totality and to study it, to grapple with it. And we have, as Reformed Jews, we believe we have the right to look at texts, and I just made the argument that it shouldn't just be Reformed Jews, it should be all Jews, and say, this is really tough, and it is not something that aligns with our modern day values, what we believe in today. So I think the value of keeping the story of a painful war in the Torah text, it's important. It's an important part of digesting what the Torah in its totality. So what does this have to do with today? I'm thinking about racial justice or injustice, as it were. And I know Rabbi Sidney has preached on racial justice. I've been talking about it. If you read my Shabbat message, it was about it, or my message to the congregation, it was about it. We can't pretend that slavery didn't exist in the Torah, albeit it's a very different version of slavery than we know existed in our country for African Americans. So the issue of racial justice is one that it's hard. We can't just necessarily look to our Torah text as a whole and say like, oh, the Torah as a model says that we shouldn't have racial inequality. There were systems of inequality in the Torah. And to my point about the Torah is not meant to go down easy, I think that all the more so it means it's something that we need to grapple with. And I wrote in my message about a different text, B'Tselem Elohim, about justice and equality for all, everybody. So I think it is on us to keep this work up. It's been almost 2 months since George Floyd was murdered, and I think the sense of urgency may not be gone entirely, but it has changed. I think the sense of urgency in our country has changed, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because the work of anti-racism in creating racial justice, it's not like it's new, and it is long and it's hard, and it is urgent in the sense of its importance. It's not urgent in the sense that it's new because of one murder happened, because we know that many, many, many murders have happened. So I was thinking about, this kind of reminded me of a story that I learned from Rabbi Michael Nemeth. If anyone on this Shabbat service, if any of you have been to Litaken, or if your children attended the Litaken Social Justice Seminar, Rabbi Nemeth tells the story every year at the Friday night service opening the Litakan seminar, he talks about the story. It's the upstream story. There are many versions that exist, but essentially it's a story about this community that has a river in it, and there are two people that are like by the river one day, and they see someone coming in the river who's like panicking and looks like they're drowning. They can't swim, and so they take a big branch and they throw it in and they save the person. And they're like, "Oh, high five, we saved a life, awesome." And then the next day it happened again. And so they're like, oh, this seems to be an ongoing thing. Maybe we should be standing by the stream to make sure, by this river, to make sure we are here to save people. So day after day, more people are coming down the river, and they're saving them. And they think like, well, clearly this is a problem. Maybe we should get one of those life preserver thingies that the lifeguards have, more than just a branch. So they get that, and they continue, but also they have jobs and they have their families. And so it got to be a lot. And one day, one of the people said to the other person, I'm done here. And the one guy's like, wait, you're just done? What are you doing? And the other person says, you know what? We need to stop pulling people out of the river. We need to go upstream and see what's causing all these people to fall into the river in the first place. So this is a well-known story about going to the root of the problem versus dealing with what's right in front of you. And that idea of going upstream to the root of the problem, that is the work that is important. And it's the work that is not necessarily the sexy social justice work. It's not, often doesn't have an immediate reward. But that is what creates true social change. So you might be wondering what you can be doing right now to help this issue. I think racial injustice is like, there are many different rivers and we need to go upstream to all of them. They're all feeding into one giant, I don't know, pool. But there is one thing that you can do right now, and that is to join Reform Judaism's civic engagement campaign. We are part of, as a Reform congregation, we're part of the Religious Action Center. If you don't get their emails, you should, rac.org, rac.org, you should sign up to get their emails. They are leading the civic engagement campaign, which is called Every Voice, Every Vote. And essentially, they're sending out postcards to different people who are most likely to be affected by voter suppression, because we know that voter suppression exists in our country and that among the most impacted are communities of color. If you have not signed up to do the postcards yet, you can do that. There's a link in our weekly email, or you can also just email me and I'm happy to connect you to the right people, to Carrie and Dick Stein, who are leading that. Thank you for doing that. And I hope that you'll join us next Thursday at 6:30, the 23rd at 6:30 for a conversation, our community conversation about racial justice. The conversation is important. It's really important. And the conversation is what is the foundation to leading to action. So one other small little piece of this portion, Parshat Matot, the first portion of this Shabbat, the very beginning talks about vows, and essentially how if we make a vow, we need to keep that vow. And it's about the power of our words. So I think, I'm guessing many of us as individuals, us as a TBT community, certainly many people in our country have given voice to the idea that Black Lives Matter, a desire to do the work to fight racial justice, which is deep in our culture. So it is not going to be easy. It's not going to be quick. But we've shared our commitment to doing that. And so our Torah portion reminds us that even when that sense of urgency is gone, that we made a vow and we have a responsibility to uphold that vow. I look forward to continuing that important work with you. We're going to continue with Aleinu. We're going to join together in this one line of Aleinu. Aleinu, literally Aleinu means it is upon us. And the idea of tikkun olam, of repairing the world, comes from this prayer. The words tikkun olam first appear in this prayer, Aleinu. It is on us to take the initiative to repair the broken places of our world. Aleinu reminds us of this. So let's join together in V'nai Amar. If you're able, please rise. V'nai v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yihye Adonai echad Ushama As we begin to conclude our Shabbat service, our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. This Shabbat we are honoring and observing the yahrzeits of Morris Baskin, Julie Boggs, Shirley Bookey, Jack Bridge, Dolores Kershon, Stuart Degosin, Lillian Gersman, Jeffrey David Goodman, Bernie Harris, Pauline Hecht, Zana Krasnopolskaya, Genrich Krasnopolsky, Leonard G. Kulikovsky, Charles M. Levitt, Diane M. Levitt, Max E. Lerner, Minnie Levitt, Surin Monole, Keith Marks, Murray Menzer, Beth Nazone, Harry Polakar, Harold I. Pohl, Evelyn Roderick, Joseph Schlanger, Dmitry Skotkin, Annette Shapkin, Sarah Uzonskaya, and Sylvia Winograd. If you're remembering someone this Shabbat, again, like Mishaberach, if you're on the Facebook, if you're joining us via Facebook Live, I invite you to share the name of the person you're remembering. And if you're so inclined, maybe something that you missed about that person, something you loved about that person. And if you are joining us via live stream, or if you would rather do this, if you're doing Facebook, please share the name of the person out loud that you're remembering. Bring their name into your space, their memory into your space, as we join together in Kaddish Yatom, Mourner's Kaddish. We rise as able. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbi, be'alma divrach hirte v'yamlich malchute, v'chayachon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dekol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach le'alam u'amei almaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yithalal shemei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. We're going to finish tonight with one of my favorite songs that, I mean, I have a lot of favorite songs that I learned from Dan Nichols. This is among them. By Carrie Newcomer, If Not Now. If you know it, please sing with me. And if not, it's actually pretty easy to pick up on. So when you get it, join me. I don't think Carrie's Jewish, but first line might sound familiar to some. If not now, tell me. If not now, tell me that you may never see this moment or this place and time again. If not now, if not now, tell me. I see sorrow, trouble in this land. I see sorrow, trouble in this land. Although there will be struggle, make the change we can. If not now, tell me. If not now, tell me when. If not now, tell me when. We may never see this moment or this place and time again. If not now, if not now, tell me when. I may never see the promised land. I may never see the promised land. And yet we'll make the journey. Walking today. If not now, if not now, tell me. May never see this moment or this place and time again. If not now, if not now, tell me. So we'll work until it's done. Every dawn, every soul, ever long for something better, something brighter. It will take a change of heart for this to matter. It will take a change of heart for this to matter. A miracle to happen every shining now and then. If not now, if not now, tell me. If not now, tell me when. I never see this moment or this place and time again. If not now, if not now, tell me when. A miracle to happen every shining now and then. If not now, if not now, tell me. If not now, if not now, if not now, tell me when. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Thank you for being with me. I hope that you'll join me tomorrow morning for Shabbat Torah study at 9 o'clock. We'll be looking at the book of Daniel, and then we'll have our Shabbat morning service and text study starting at 10:30. The links to both of those are in the weekly email. And again, I hope to see you next Thursday at our community conversation about race. Shabbat Shalom. Take care.